While millions of people are carefully curating their faces, their bodies, their breakfasts, and their accidental selfies for the internet, there's this massive group of people who just don't. They scroll, they watch, they might post a thought, a quote, maybe nothing at all. And no, you're not broken. You're not boring. You're not antisocial. Your brain is actually wired differently. What nobody tells you is that not posting personal photos isn't a flaw or a fear. It's a psychological pattern with real neuroscience behind it. And once you see what's actually happening in your brain, a lot of your life suddenly makes sense. Stay with me, because this goes way deeper than "I'm just private." Let me break down what's really happening in that brain of yours. Most people's brains treat personal photos as a reward opportunity. Post a picture, get likes, get comments, get little hits of validation. Dopamine fireworks. Your brain? It runs a different operating system. When you consider posting your face or your life, your brain doesn't go, "Ooh, reward." It goes, "Information exposure detected." That's not anxiety. That's sensory processing sensitivity. Research suggests roughly 20% of the population has a more sensitive nervous system, meaning your brain takes in more data from the environment and processes it more deeply. It's like everyone else is watching life in 480p, and you're stuck with an 8K IMAX experience you never asked for. Every image you share feels permanent, contextless, vulnerable. Your prefrontal cortex lights up instead of your reward pathways. fMRI studies show that people with higher sensitivity have increased activity in regions tied to self-awareness and long-term consequence evaluation. Translation: you're not overthinking, you're forecasting. You're not broken, you're calibrated for caution. Evolutionarily, this mattered. These brains were the ones that noticed patterns, remembered threats, protected the group. You're not too much. You're exactly what survival needed. Now let's talk about something else that nobody says out loud. You don't avoid posting photos because you hate attention. You avoid it because you understand attention. Here's where it gets interesting. When most people post personal photos, they're participating in a social performance. Subtle, unspoken, but real. Psychologists call parts of this berging, basking in reflected glory. You attach your identity to how others respond. Likes become feedback loops. A study discussed in the Journal of Consumer Psychology found that visible social feedback actually changes how people evaluate themselves in real time. Your brain sees this and quietly opts out. You walk into a party, a family gathering, a work event, and you immediately feel it. The smiles that last a second too long. The "I'm doing great" that isn't. Online, it's the same thing but louder. Filters, angles, performative vulnerability, and you can see straight through it. It's like you're reading subtitles everyone else forgot were on. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you socially sophisticated. Cambridge University research on social cognition shows that people with high mirror neuron responsiveness are more attuned to emotional incongruence. You're not antisocial, you're anti-BS. You don't want to offer your image to a system that flattens nuance. You'd rather be known deeply by a few than vaguely by many. And honestly, that's a power move most people don't even realize exists. But here's the wild part. Your reward system works differently too, and this explains so much. Dopamine is the star of social media. Novelty, likes, visibility, quick hits. But your brain leans more heavily on acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter associated with deep focus, internal satisfaction, and meaning-making. Neuroscientists have found that people with lower optimal stimulation levels actually feel overwhelmed, not rewarded, by high-input environments, while others feel alive posting stories, checking views, refreshing comments. Your system gets overstimulated. It's like asking someone who loves composing symphonies to survive on elevator music. You feel most you when you're walking alone, thinking, reading quietly, having real conversations without an audience. Research in the Journal of Adult Development suggests that people who derive reward from internal states show higher long-term emotional regulation. So when you're not posting, you're not disengaged, you're processing. While mainstream culture needs constant external stimulation to feel real, you need internal space to access your full operating system. That's not weird, that's evolutionary brilliance. And honestly, this is where people misunderstand you the most. They assume you're hiding, or insecure, or disconnected. Congratulations, your brain just saved you from confusing visibility with intimacy. Posting a photo feels like giving away context without control. You understand that once it's out there, it belongs to everyone and no one. Studies on parasocial investment show that people often mistake exposure for connection. Your brain refuses that shortcut. You don't want strangers forming a version of you that can't ask questions back. You don't want your face becoming content. You want your presence to be earned. That's not fear, that's discernment. You're not missing out, you're opting out of a system you never agreed to play. Here's something nobody mentions though. There is a cost to this wiring. You absorb more, you notice more, you feel more. A 2-hour social event can wipe you out for days. Scrolling through other people's highlight reels can feel oddly invasive. You might struggle to explain yourself when someone says, "Why don't you post more?" Because the real answer is complicated. Because your identity isn't a product. Because you experience life. You don't broadcast it. Research on high-contingency environments shows that people like you are more affected by emotional unpredictability, so you build boundaries, quiet ones, invisible ones. What others call guarded is actually highly intentional. What they call distant is actually selective empathy. You're not too sensitive, you're tuned in. So the next time someone asks why you don't post personal photos, here's what this all means. You're not missing out. You're opting out of a system that was never built for minds like yours, a system that rewards constant output, shallow connection, and performative identity. You're not broken, you're not boring, you're not wrong. You're private, perceptive, and neurologically wired for depth in a world obsessed with noise. And honestly, that's exactly what makes you fascinating. So tell me, are you team post nothing or team post rarely? Drop it in the comments, and if this hit home, subscribe and click the next video on screen.